Hello everyone. Well, I just thought I should give you another update. I mean, this is such a powerful time we're right now in, and it was actually foreseeable that this Mercury retrograde period would be monumental. I mean, it started just hours before Jupiter entered Aries on May the 10th. So Jupiter was in an anaretic degree, and in that very final minutes of the sign Pisces, its own sign, so it was very clear that this was a culmination of sort, that Jupiter would activate, and Jupiter is extremely dynamic, would activate kind of what was it's like anaretic degrees are deadlines. You have to meet deadlines. It's last minute decisions. Everything is urgent because you only have that much time left, and then the new energy kicks in. That's kind of the feeling. There's a compression, and it was obvious that this would be an epic period. We are now half through. Just yesterday, Sun and Mercury had their exact alignment with Earth. This is what's called the inferior conjunction, when Sun and Mercury were at the exact same degree. Now, let's go quickly back. I don't have this as a big chart, but you might see it here. Let me see if okay, here. This is the Mercury retrograde, the beginning, May 10th that was. As you see here, it's a little small, but you can see Jupiter 2954 Pisces. Just hours later, Jupiter entered Aries and really lighting the fire under everything and all. And what we also saw was naturally Sun and Uranus here exactly at midheaven, flanking. So this was clear this would be a revolutionary period of big surprises, big breakthroughs on many fronts. Now you would think maybe it's getting ever more crazy, and sure it is. I mean, they're rolling out new things left and right, monkeypox and new restrictions, and yeah, it's unbelievable at what the rate the control agents are pushing new things, and it's overwhelming to many, but it's also waking people up. Now let's just go back a little bit. Yesterday, actually on the 20th of May, we had the Sun Sedna conjunction, and you see Mercury here at 1 degree. So this was already one energy, and sure enough, the last few days were difficult. I guess we all can tell that. My car broke down on last Wednesday. Then Thursday was actually then the first day in the Mayan calendar is in this new round, and it seems really the intensity has just jumped up a whole big level as we are now in this new 260-day sequence. First day was 1 Imish, which was the red magnetic dragon. So we are now in dragon energy, which is birthing something new, starting a new wave with an impulse, and this first 13-day period is fully in the Mercury retrograde period of unraveling and going back and rewiring. That's basically what any retrograde planet is. It is going back over the books and fixing what has gone wrong. So that's why Mercury retrograde usually is a little bit difficult, because that has to be done. Now this is the Greenwich chart, the global chart, and I showed you in my last recording how important the Greenwich location is, how it's truly a fractal for the planet. Go back to it. It's about that solar flare, the biggest one of the 20th century, of August 1972, and you will see the amazing charts which clearly show the power of that location as representing Earth as a whole. Now again, this chart, Sun Sedna conjunction, I mean, Sedna is a super important energy in our present time. You see also in the anaretic degree now here of Taurus, and that will be for the next full year or so still the case. Sedna moves extremely slow. It's a very special one because it has an 11,400 year orbit around the Sun. That is really bringing back that frequency of what happened here on this planet 12,000 years ago roughly. This in itself is monumental. Sedna is closest to the Sun in this century. Actually, most exactly closest it will be, I guess, in the year 2074 or something. So still a few decades away, still coming closer, pushing farther in. Sedna has been pretty much the energy we experienced in 2020 and 2021, mostly in 2020 with all the lockdowns and the restrictions, and everybody was pushed into their own little cocoon, I would say, and we had to face ourselves, work out what we long had kind of postponed. So it was a true enrichment in many ways. I mean, you can say what you want, but evolution, personal and collective, has been jumping up quite a few levels just because everybody was forced to face themselves. That's exactly what Sedna is. It is bringing you to dark and difficult places. It's the undersea world which is ruled by Sedna, and as we all know, the deep sea is less known than the outer space. There's lots of mysteries, lots of secrets hiding there, and also speaking of space, Sedna coming back from that deep depth of the solar system, of actually going far out into the galaxy. This is information which is coming in, which we have not known, which we have long forgotten. So it's a big revival in that sense with Mercury here. So all these mysteries are starting to be laid open, and so this is going on for the next 2 weeks still, that Mercury is moving backwards. Here we will be back at 27 degrees or something by June the 3rd, and then moving forward again once more, connecting with Sedna. So this is a main theme here again. It is really bringing us deeper to yet another layer. Now, why do I show you this chart? Also, it is the 22 degrees horizon here, and that is in perfect T-square with the nodal axis, showing that this is amplified, this moment, as it's truly received by our global suspension points. That's what the midheaven, midnight point, and the horizon are. These are kind of the big pillars which connect this moment to the greater cosmos, the anchors, if you will. So whenever these two axes are magnified, then this moment is getting way more intense, and naturally this is just a momentary chart, but it is the yearly recharge of the Sun with Sedna energy. So this will be, as I said, this is a seed of sorts. Now also the 14th degree of Sagittarius, that's where the Great Attractor is. The Great Attractor is one of these points astronomers have figured out. That's where all the galaxies of our local cluster seem to head towards. It's kind of an enormous vortex, a force which pulls everything into its place. So it's certainly has the energy of a huge black hole. There's an enormous attraction. Whenever this point is activated, this intensifies, this amplifies the energy a lot. Now, this was just the beginning. I mean, the next week is going to be probably the most dramatic we have seen so far in this year. Why I say that? It's the 5th month. Number 5 is wild energy. I often compare it to wind at the top of the mountain. It's extremely fierce. Yes, you have also the view of being on a mountaintop, but it is extremely exposed, can be really rattling you through and through. That is the number 5 that has been the whole month of May already. And if you add it up to the year number, which is a 6, then you get an 11. And the 11 is the solar power number. It is the frequency the sun has. Every 11 years the sun produces a solar maximum. So the 11 is about individuation, of finding your true self, your own voice, and that is the other level of frequency this month in this year has as a resonance which we all perceive. So yes, the last week now of this 5th month is going to be epic. Now, Jupiter entered Aries, as I said, on May the 10th. On the 25th, there is a heliocentric Mars-Saturn conjunction, and on the 24th, Mars enters Aries, and then on the 29th is a Jupiter Mars conjunction. So there's lots of conjunctions, lots of rewiring going on the next few days, and this is just kind of the most prominent ones. I show you now a few more. Okay, well, let me say one more thing here also is the 25th degree year of Aquarius, which will be repeatedly coming up, and that's where we are just heading now. You see that is Sun-Mercury inferior conjunction when Sun, Earth and Mercury were exactly in one line. This is Earth. We are looking up towards the Sun, and Mercury is exactly between, and because Mercury is between Sun and Earth right now, it appears to move backwards. 2 months later, Mercury will be on the other side of the Sun, another conjunction that is then called the superior conjunction, which is the peak of a 4-month Mercury Sun Earth cycle. This, however, yesterday exact, was the beginning, the seed for those next 4 months, and again with the Setna energy. So don't expect this tenor, this sub-note, this bass to change very soon. It will be a time of extreme disclosure, particularly so as Sun and Mercury meet in the very first degree of Gemini. This is hexagram 20. For those of you who follow that, 20 is contemplation. It is the energy of just looking, and that's all we need to do. We have just to pay attention and to process what we perceive. And I mean, if you break free from that programming, from that mesmerized on whatever the newscasts are putting in your face turning off your television. They tell you a vision. Yes, they tell you what to think. I call it the hourly programming. They call it the news, naturally. I mean, they try to... it's that whole inversion. Everything is not what it seems. Alice in Wonderland. So all that is now coming at a rocket speed out into the public field. There's a great awakening going on. People are just left and right and center. It has accelerated tremendously, yes. And it's going that way. And I said it before, August will be the time when the global revolution will happen. That is when the planet Uranus and the North Node, which is the collective evolution's direction, when they will meet, they move towards each other. By the end of July, actually the last day of July, they will be having their exact meeting. The month of August you can expect to be extremely hot, not just because it's summer on the northern hemisphere. This will be amazing, to say the least. We are truly moving towards liberation. Now you see here Saturn, as I mentioned before, 25 degrees here in Leo now, which is the Sagittarian dwad now of Aquarius, between 25 and 27:30. That is the 11th 2.5 degree segment. And for those of you who are new to this, dwads, that's the fractal principle again of the zodiac. Every sign in this case here, we're looking at Aquarius. So Aquarius is subdivided in 12 equal segments of 2.5 degrees. The first 2.5 degrees are always exactly the same energy as the sign is. So 0 to 2.5 is Aquarius, 2.5 to 5 has the sub node of Pisces, and so on and so forth. Between 20 and 22.5 we would have the Libra overtone, 22.5 till 25 here in Aquarius. That would be Scorpionic. That's where we're coming out of. Now we are in the Sagittarian dwad here, and this is Sagittarius always has that fire of searching for truth. So this is ever more important, this energy now. Also with the Sun in Gemini, naturally Earth is in Sagittarius. This is another thing not many astrologers really pay too much attention of. Super important. The Earth is always at the opposite side of the Sun, and it is bringing down these energies from the Sun down to Earth, anchor them. So this will be a truly mind-bending time. We are seeing Jupiter, after all, is the ruler of Sagittarius. Jupiter in the early degrees of Aries, as I say here, coming up, the meeting with Mars entering Aries, as I said, on the 24th. We will get to that. So this week will be really boom, boom, boom. Now, let me point out a few more things here. Look at the 25 degrees axis here. And now if we roll back a little bit, and I had told you about that already weeks ago, this was the total lunar eclipse of May the 16th, and you see what we have here, the 25th, 24th degree of Taurus and Scorpio. That's where the total lunar eclipse happened. And again, this is the Greenwich chart. So that in itself was a clear sign that this would be a super powerful lunar eclipse, as it's exactly in the horizon axis of the global chart. So this was just setting the stage, really, as was the partial solar eclipse on April the 30th, which was the first of these eclipse events we had in the last month or so, both planting seeds. And you see again the 25th degree of Scorpio, Taurus. It's uncanny, the whole symmetry we are seeing. And now with the Sun Mercury inferior conjunction, again we have that 25th degree of Scorpio and Taurus, and it is not ending. Let me show you more. So this is then the midpoint chart. Now we are jumping a little bit, but I want to include this because this is super important. As I showed you also and spoke about months, that after the solar eclipse on April 30th, the Ukraine theme would become super important because it's supported by that same cross, which we see here again. You see, no, it's yes, it's this one. That's what it is. The 10 degrees Taurus. That was where the eclipse happened. And as I have shown you earlier, that is the chart for the Ukraine, which seems to be producing excellent results. This gave me the ability to forecast that there would be a very clear winning of Russia in this war, starting to become obvious around that time, towards the end of April starting. And sure enough, if you go back in history, you will find out it was April the 20th when that Apostol was under siege, when that started, and it took them 4 weeks to smoke them out, to have them come out all of hiding and get into captivity, surrender. And naturally you only surrender if you have to. That's what it is in war. But that was definitely a very symbolic event, happened on the 20th when the last came out of that hole. So yes, the Ukraine is super important. And again, we have the 25th degree of fixed signs here in the horizon of this midpoint chart when Mercury goes backwards into Taurus. And we will get to why this is super important. This happens actually today here in North America, in Kiev. It's already tomorrow. But as I'm recording this, actually Mercury already has gone back into Taurus, and this is pretty much right now happening. So you see, I have here a dual chart, and I started with this one because I want to show you something. So inside we have the midpoints between that Mercury retrograde Taurus ingress, and outside we have the Mercury Taurus ingress. Now what are we seeing here? Here we're seeing how this celestial energy is expressing in the Ukraine, or through the Ukraine, as the midpoints are always the interface of how a particular entity, person, nation is dealing with a particular energy. So what we see here is that the midpoint Saturn is at the ascendant. The actual planet Saturn here for Kiev at this moment is at the 7th house cusp. So double Saturn. This in itself shows, yes, it's the end of something. They have come to a dead end road, and this gets even more pronounced here with the 24 degree again Taurus Scorpio axis here at the 3rd, 9th house, which is super important. That is the house of perception and of communication. So it will really dawn on everybody in the Ukraine in the next short while that it is time to surrender, to give up, to look for peace, and not to be focused on giving away more lives, because it's really cannon fodder at that time. Everybody has realized that there's no chance. These billions of dollars of weapons which the West is sending in, I mean, as soon as they land on the ground, Russians come in and destroy them. They have a total oversight over the situation. Every day in the Oval Circle, which is one of the best sources, I mentioned that before, you find it on Telegram. Every day they show these short videos and reports of Russia, how they are winning everywhere and anywhere. So all these weapons are basically just destroyed as soon as they arrive. And there comes a moment when this whole craziness is dawning into people's minds, and I guess it's very close that we will see big changes over there. This is just one small insight into this. If you look at these two charts here now, this is the same moment. Inside again, the midpoint between the Ukraine and Mercury going backwards in Taurus. And outside now we have the Ukraine's chart. And here you see even more clearly with how important this moment is. You see the moon here and that midpoint at 0 degrees Virgo, and that is where the sun is in the Ukraine chart. You also see Jupiter here at the 7th house cusp. Now this is a beautiful sign, this Jupiter and Mercury conjunction at the 7th house cusp. This is a kind of finally, it's a relief. That's what this Jupiter highlighted here means, this Jupiter Mercury. It's kind of finally we can start breathing again. That's where we are getting to. Interesting also the Ukrainian moon, the natal moon in their chart at 22 degrees Aquarius. If we go back to this chart here, which I showed you at the beginning, 22 Aquarius. So also this Sun-Sedna chart showed that the Ukrainian nation's soul would really be here most at the apex of this energy, and naturally everybody is kind of looking that direction and seeing, putting their energy there, sending healing energies. That's what will eventually change this situation. This will be the last war, believe me, it is certainly so. There will be no war anymore after that one, because we don't need war anymore. It's becoming so obvious, this madness, and it only had to happen because so many things went wrong. Trump said it, and I totally believe him. If he had been president, which actually he should be, this war would have been avoided. These criminals would have been taken care of in a different way. There would not have been this invasion necessary. It would all have been done legally. Anyway, we are where we are, and we are doing the best we can from here. So let's move on to this chart here. This is tomorrow. Chiron entering hexagram 51, which is thunder below and thunder above. This is the first time Chiron enters this energy since it last was in this area of the zodiac, which is 50 plus years ago. So this is big. The hexagram number 51, thunder below, thunder above, is about shock treatment, about sudden realizations, sudden changes, and it's kind of very Uranian, unexpected surprise, shaking people alive. That is the energy which we will see for the next few weeks. Chiron will be moving forward here for another few months and then backwards again when the sun is over here in this angle, appearing then to move backwards again, going backwards into the hexagram before. But for the next 4 months or so, this is the energy Chiron has. Now, why is this so important? Because Chiron is the wounded healer. Since in Aries, which started 2018, that was really the period between 2018 and 2025 when we would finally as individuals take back our power, as we are honoring our responsibility for where things are. That's the whole story. If you take responsibility, you are in power, you can change things. That's the message Chiron has in Aries. And now with Mars and soon with Jupiter and soon Mars to be in this fire sign of new beginnings as well. So things are really amping up. Let me just, first I want to point out here again the 28th degree of Aquarius. Just keep this in mind. Actually, I give it away as I speak. That is the 28th degree of Aquarius now at the western horizon when Mars and Jupiter will have their conjunction on the 29th of May. Again, this locking in with two different cosmic events on each other bonds them together, causes them to strongly resonate. So it's a build-up of energies. Still, we will see it is many layers as usual. So this is really just a beginning of sorts. We see here, and then again I have here the midpoint chart of that moment when Chiron enters this super important kind of push-through energy, pushing through into the light, one could say. And interesting is that the moon, and I'm quickly going back here, the moon will actually be in this hexagram soon. That's still to come, so just bear with me. So yes, this is the Ukraine's independence chart and the ingress of Chiron, and this is the midpoint. What stands out here is moon here, exactly rising, and this is another clear sign that it's the people who will make the difference finally. It's down to the soul of the nation as they come together, as they see that they should really do the right thing. And I guess in Virgo, this is the sign of self-care, of understanding what we need to care for ourselves. Now then, on the 24th, Mars enters Aries, as said. And again, you have the 24th degree here, up high, of Scorpio, and Taurus here at the root of the chart. So all these moments interlock. The eclipses, you remember, both have that 25th degrees. Then the Mercury inferior conjunction of yesterday has that 25th degrees, and this one again. So it's kind of like a ladder. We're climbing up. We're building up the intensity, and with each new event the impulse gets stronger. Most interesting here naturally is that the moon just an hour prior or so to Mars Aries entry is entering Aries as well. So there is this Moon-Mars conjunction, another sign of courage, of taking the enemy on and fully focusing on being strong and going into the lead, as it says. Attack is the best defense in that sense. It's being proactive, doing the right thing before the enemy can really come in with its measures. And when I speak the enemy, I sure mean the cabal, the deep state, with all their rules. So we have to be ahead of the game. That's what this all means, and it naturally is happening because we are creative. They have just a very limited playbook. They always play the same things. Just look at Elon Musk for now. I mean, it's become so obvious. All they have to roll out are defamations, naturally of sexual nature. That's always the most charged subject. Well, I really like Elon. He's making some impact there. He's definitely shuffling up the whole scene. You might think of him what you want. I also have some mixed feelings. I still think he is somehow played both sides, but it seems more and more obviously that he truly shifted sides and is now working on behalf of the Great Awakening. I mean, after all, the whole Twitter thing already has revealed so much about the cheating and the pretension which is going on, the hypocrisy, as half of President Biden's Twitter followers are bots. They are not really people. And I mean, this is just scratching the surface. Yeah, you can go and do your own research. It's quite amazing. It's all coming into the open. It's the age of truth, and it's our frequency which is trigger all these things to pop into the open. It is the light which will be the cure. That's how it always is. It's like a simple wound. Once you clean it, once you put whatever the remedy on, and then you have all you have to do is expose it to the light, clean air, and the healing will set in. That's exactly the same thing which is happening in the collective right now, and it is a super intense, super important time we're in. So with Mars entering Aries under such a powerful setup, this is kind of the last level of the culmination of the energies, and as if it couldn't go higher, the next level up will be when Ceres and the Black Moon will have their conjunction on May the 26th. And this chart I cast here for Kiev, the capital of the Ukraine again. And now this is really the culmination of energies, and that is when the moon will be here having its conjunction with Chiron a few hours earlier, still in that same hexagram. And I want to show you one thing here first quickly before we go deeper into this chart. This is that the energy of that day of the 26th of May. That's this coming Thursday, which I think will be bringing an enormous breakthrough. It might not be immediately visible, but whatever happens, and sometimes it takes a few days for things to come out into the open, or maybe even a bit longer, but this day has a particularly powerful energy for each and everyone here on this planet. You can see it on this diagram clearly. There is 4 channels defined on that day by transiting planets. this is the channel of mutation, and this is the channel of synthesis, and in between you have here this channel of charisma. So it's mutation through charisma leads to a synthesis. This is a powerful connection. That means we all are able to generate a new reality. These are the center channels here, which are all super important. This is about individual perception. Everybody will experience this in a slightly different but very unique way. And then on top of that, kind of the cream is this connection between 25 and 51, which is the channel of initiation. And you see here I highlighted it. These are the planets which are forming these channels. So we have the 60 and the 3, that's Venus and Pluto here, which define mutation. Then 34 and 20, that is Earth and the Sun. And these first degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius, the channel of charisma, which is thoughts manifesting immediately. That's the idea behind it. It's just that direct connection between the sacral, our primal source of energy, and the throat where we express. And this is fueled by a clear understanding of the complexity of what is going on. 2343, that's where the nodes are, and this channel is actually activated, and I showed you that before, for months on end. That is when, that's again an opposition in the zodiac, 2343, that is where the nodes are right now. And yes, this is on till sometime in late July. So a super intense period we are in of true perception, understanding what's really going on this planet. And this will set the stage, as I say, for then the August revolution, which I see is no question anymore in my mind. It's all going into the same directions. There's multiple confirmations, as I will show you as we go. So that is this moment when Ceres will have an exact conjunction with the black moon. Now, this is super important for the Ukraine in particular, as the Ukraine is pretty much its most important planet in their chart is Ceres. I mean, you can see it if we look at it. It's here it is. Ceres is the planet of highest degree up in the 9th house. It's the breadbasket of Europe. That's what Ukraine is. And Ceres has a lot to do with that. It's about nourishment, nutrition. It's the earth goddess. It's about agriculture. And I mean, if you listen a bit to the history of the Ukraine, it is extremely rural, small farming. Every family has their own garden. And as we know, it is one of the main export countries of grains. So Ceres is kind of the trademark of that country. And when now we will see that powerful conjunction here of the black moon and Ceres, this is the recognition of the bottom of the valley. It can't go any further down. We have reached rock bottom here. And again, you see the 4th, 5th degree of Cancer, and if we look here at, this is where this conjunction is happening here, right at the 7th house cusp. It'll be a few more weeks with the Black Moon and Ceres both to move over this degree, but the conjunction they make, which initiates this last and final phase of this war, is here on May 26th. And again, I want to show you how this moment intersects, locks in with the Ukraine chart. Look at this axis here. First of all, Neptune here. Neptune is the planet of defeat in that sense, and what you see here, if we do the overlay again inside the transits, the same chart as before, that is where Neptune is, and Mars in the Ukraine chart 2504. Yes, it's pretty obvious. This is a strong sign of defeat, of throwing the arms in, of seeing the futility of the situation. And I just want to point out, if we look at their natal Neptune and transit Mars, and we do the midpoint of these 2 points, I show you how I do that. I add up the two numbers here, 1 degree and 0.7, that is 1523, and then we divide that by 2, that is 7 degrees is 14, and 23 plus 6 is 83, is 42, that means 742, and then we have to add 15 degrees, and you get to 22. Okay, let me do it again. I'm now talking too much. 14, 16, 107, 15, 23. That is 7, 42, 22, 42 is the midpoint here in Aquarius of these two. And that is where the natal moon is of the Ukraine. You can't make these things up. It's just uncanny. It is that moment of humility. You could call it humiliation. Yes, in some sort it is definitely a humiliation, but it's also a deep relief, because if you truly have followed the whole story, and I mean by that the full background of what's going on in the Ukraine. Again, I'm referring to Oliver Stone's documentary Ukraine on Fire. If you haven't had a chance, it's certainly worth the time. It's about 1.5 hours. It's a powerful documentary showing you where things have gone wrong, why we are where we are. So this is a rectification of that situation, and it is happening. This war will soon be over. The last chart here, yes, is the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, and that is the end of this month, the 29th, then again the 28th degree of Leo and Aquarius, as I showed you already. And also Uranus here exactly at midheaven. So this new Mars-Jupiter cycle, which starts at the 1st degrees of Aries, carrying that fire, Mars-Jupiter is successful action. It is putting the male active energy in charge and breaking through barriers, breaking through hindrances, with Uranus up high here, again close to the degree where Uranus and the North Node will meet in by the end of July. So I'm super excited. It's a difficult time, yes, but it's worth it, every minute of it. This is the Great Awakening. We knew this was coming. Everybody who is here probably listening is already on that same wavelength. If you're new, then most welcome here. You will be in for a few more big treats this year, and there will be a great breakthrough naturally it will take a few months of strong friction if you want, but 2023 is the year of freedom. So be it. Thanks for joining, listening, and see you soon.